Cowboys Saints defensive coordinator, friend of the show, Rob Ryan. Stop on by. We got all sorts of stuff happening with this draft, which now is on Fox Television. We have the draft now, too. All right, so Jim Mora comes out, college coach, and says a couple of things about Josh Rosen, and the world implodes. And he said he's a millennial, and a lot of people are like, whoa, 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 whoa. And he said, I don't think he's a great fit in Cleveland, and people go, whoa, whoa, whoa. What is your big takeaway on Mora's comments on his college quarterback?
Well, I mean, you know, I was a little surprised that I just think he was trying to cover up for the quote he had the day before. So I don't think it was, right. I think when you're saying, he needs to know, why. Well, every offense you put in, you're going to tell them why you're doing it, what situation you're going to run it, and how you're going to do it. So, I mean, it was kind of a strange comment, but believe me, every team in the league isn't listening to that comment.
They're not.
They're going to do their own research on him. They've done hours of film on him. They've had the kid in. They've had him at workouts. Believe me, they're going to know the kid. And every coach in the league is going to believe, hey, I can coach that kid. I can motivate him.
Well, that's interesting, Rob, because when you were defensive coordinator for the Saints and the Cowboys and the Browns and the Raiders, obviously the GM and the coach would come to you and say, hey, Rob, they're going to ask you questions about personnel. Did you in your career, did a college coach ever say anything that scared a team you were on?
Not really. I mean, I think you always are gathering as much information as you can, to make the right decision. But eventually, you have to do, your due diligence. And every coach is going to believe that they, if they believe in themselves as a motivator, that they can get anybody to do something. So, I just remember Geno Smith. He had, his coach didn't support him,
right? Which
is strange. I know people like honesty, but sometimes it's like, man, this is a huge thing for this guy, and he won a lot of games for you. I think more would be excited for him, and hoping he goes to New York or wherever and has a great career.
Let's move into a couple of the college kids. You are not as enamored with Baker Mayfield, nor am I as the rest of the media. As a defensive coordinator in this league now for 20 years, Rob,
right?
What do you see that worries you about Baker Mayfield?
Well, I know this, he's a system quarterback. He's got the RPOs, the run-pass options, and he does them better than anybody. I mean, he rides that ball in there. He does a fantastic job of that. I don't think he's got the proper height, that you want. You think he played in a bad conference. They don't play defense in the Big 12. They just don't. Who's the best Big 12 quarterback ever? I don't know. So, those things I don't like. The other thing is people want to compare him to Drew Brees. Now, Drew Brees is one of the best pocket passers of all time. Of all time.
So that's
that's a joke.
That's unfair to Baker Mayfield.
It's not. Yeah, it's a joke. What he wants to be is, he does have a knack of extending plays. His line, I thought, did a great job for him. I watched the Texas game. He was back there 45 minutes, and he tore him up. Well, yeah, I guess so. But the thing he wants to extend plays like Russell Wilson does.
But
Russell Wilson is a premier athlete.
4.5 40.
Yeah.
This is a two-time walk-on who ran a 4.85 40.
Right. This guy's not going to be able to do that in the National Football League.
I totally agree with you.
So, I understand, hey, I like how the people say, well, he's Brett Favre. There's one Brett Favre. So, come on, stop. But, I mean, that's comparisons. That's what people do. The bad thing is that, this kid, he's undersized. He transferred from Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Because the Davis Webb kid beat him out. So, the Giants aren't going to take him because Davis Webb beat him out.
Right.
I'm sure he'll do a great job. He'll find a place to go. I'm just not as sold on him.
But you're also not sold on Sam Darnold. Why? USC quarterback.
No. I just like Allen better because I think Allen, has bigger upside. I think, he's got the huge arm. I mean, that's a gigantic arm.
It's a world-class arm.
Right. And if he goes to Cleveland, he's going with Todd Haley, who's had Roethlisberger. I mean, that's a good point. That's a great combination. So that's why I liked him. Darnold, I think, is a good quarterback. It's just, he takes a little bit longer to throw the ball.
He does have an extended motion.
Right, and there's a little something with that throwing motion, and I'm not Tom House on mechanics, but, he just, if you take a little long to throw in the National Football League, you end up being Kaiser. That kid from Notre Dame, and he had all those interceptions and sacks and things. So I think all these guys, they may not necessarily have to play this year, and it might be a good thing for all of them. But I think Rosen's just a little bit ahead of all of them.
Okay, let's go to OBJ. You've been in New York. You know the media. Peter Schrager came on earlier today, and he had it sourced. He said, listen, the Giants have said we'd move him for the right price, and not even half the teams have shown interest because there are some off-field things people worry about. And he's also said, I want to be the highest-paid player in my position in the league, quarterback money. You know Coughlin. Okay, what is your takeaway on what you'd give up for OBJ?
Well, I think OBJ is one of the top 3 receivers in football.
Okay.
So I think he's a fantastic talent. I think he's an ultimate competitor on the field. Now, off the field, hey, I don't hang out with him, but I know one thing. He is on the field. He is an ultimate competitor. I know that people look at the Josh Norman thing, and that was a negative. Well, remember, their team was getting slaughtered in that game.
Yeah.
Norman was acting up. Beckham attacked him, was fighting the whole way.
Not a negative for you.
Not at all, because he's trying to get his team motivated. They did come back, and Tom Coughlin, a great disciplinarian, had him stay on the field. Why? Because he saw it too. He felt it too. So look, this guy can change the game. This guy's a super talented kid. Sometimes these receivers are, they're a little different types of people. But the one thing you got to respect on this guy is he's so competitive, and he's only going to help you win.
Yeah, you. That's what coaches always say. Coaches, it's funny, Rob. Not every player lives for football. Not every player is hyper competitive. Now, they're all talented.
Sure.
But in your locker room, if I said, how many guys, Rob, on average, live with the game and die with the play, 10%, 15, 20?
I tell you, it was a lot higher than that when I was in New England, because that's the type of character people. That's the only thing they were looking for. But as you go, I would say 50% of the people just absolutely love football.
And then half don't.
Then half are, they're still trying, they're still competing, but they don't put the time in necessary to be great or to win. Like, you have to put time in that league to win. And if you don't do it, you're just not going to win.
Yeah, everybody's talented in the National Football League. It's interesting that the story about Gronk, Christine and I had this earlier, I maybe hyperventilated. But New England has a history of moving off guys a year early, not a year late.
That's true.
Let me just say this about Gronk. Physically not as reliable. I don't think he has a ton left in the league. Super talented, but if you look at the numbers, he's not taking them to a different place offensively. They lost him against Jacksonville. They came back and won. Right. They lost him against Atlanta. He didn't play. They came back and won. I like Gronk. But you as a talent evaluator, there is a time that you have to move into talent and move out of it. How valuable is Gronk to you now at this age in his career?
Right. I still think Gronk is the best tight end in football. And I know he's Brady's number 1 target. So I know they win without him. That's a credit to Josh McDaniels and that staff and Brady and all those guys. But this is the best tight end in football. He can block. He can catch. You can't cover him with a corner. He'll beat him up. You can't cover him with a linebacker or safety. You just outrun him. I mean, he is special. And even last year, he was special. I know he missed some games, but he was still, one of the league leaders in receiving, for catches and yards. I mean, this guy is phenomenal. I think they would be making a mistake of getting rid of him. But look, you're talking about a team that's gotten rid of Richard, Seymour, Lawyer Malloy, things like that. Look, they know Ernie Adams, Bill Belichick. They know, when to move on, when not to. But I just can't see Gronk, as good as he is and as talented as he is, them moving on from him.
Rob Ryan, Raiders, Browns, Cowboys, Saints, defensive coordinators. Good having you on the show, bud.
Good to be here.
Hour 3 will be coming up in the herd. Car shopping is really confusing, sort of intimidating. There's a lot of things out there. Invoice, dealer price and list price, and a lot of that stuff's confusing. Here's what isn't. If you have a new car or you have a used car, go to TrueCar.com. When you're ready to buy, it's a more confident car buying experience. New or used, save $3,000 off MSRP. Corey Maggette, former NBA and Duke star, is going to be joining us around the corner in hour number 3. The Herd live from Los Angeles.
Before.